where does this story begin, right? So we'll dive into it. Cool. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Where we help overwhelmed visionary founders transform their chaotic operations into clean, scalable systems so that they can grow and thrive.
Awesome. And you've got a story to share with us today. Where in this world does that story begin?
So my story really begins when I was on maternity leave with my second kid. Because for years I'd been hustling and moving and going. And, I was doing all the things and like talking all the talk, but I wasn't really following behind that. Like, you always heard you're supposed to, leaders are readers, and I heard all the spirituality stuff. And there's that instinctive, like, oh, this doesn't apply to me, that kept applying every single time I'd hear it. I'd be like, okay, you need a spiritual piece to your success story, whatever. But I was on maternity leave about 6 weeks into an 8-week maternity leave with my second, who is, don't eat the Play-Doh, love, who's currently eating Play-Doh next to me. She wasn't doing that then. And I realized as I was watching some crappy reality television show that I was doing nothing. Like, I had always said, I'm too busy to read. I'm too busy to do this. I'm too busy to like look into all this stuff. Nothing was really working. Go on. And I realized I had all the time in the world. Now I was sitting around with a newborn and I was doing nothing with it. And maybe I was my own bottleneck to success and to the greater things that I wanted to do. Maybe it was me and not the whole world around me that was causing the problem. And so that's really what got me started, like moving on a different path and changing myself instead of trying to change the world around me. So I started reading books and, didn't immediately click, but eventually I found the book You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero, I think it is. And that got me into meditation. And I finally learned how to quiet down my brain. And that's when a lot of the tides started to turn and I started to be able to more clearly make progress in my life and my business.
I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
You read it? Okay. It's like spirituality for dummies. It is the entry point, because I'd tried before reading like spirituality books and they went flying right out over my head because I didn't even meditate. Every time I would sit down to meditate, I call it the squirrel in a box. You sit down to meditate and you just don't want to be alone with your own thoughts because they're just like a squirrel's trying to escape this box that you've put it in. There, don't eat it though. But this book really eases you into it. It's extremely relatable, common, and goes down to the like teeniest, tiniest steps. And so, yeah, it's like the beginner's dictionary for spirituality. And then you can move your way up. And now I'm reading like more advanced stuff and I'm listening to different creators that talk about way more high level stuff, but it's because I have a solid foundation.
If you were to tell someone who was trying to get into it brand new, right? They were the squirrel in the box, right? They couldn't sit still with their thoughts. They were having trouble following the breaths and all of that stuff that meditators talk about. What are some of the tips that you would give them to ease into it, to break it down in a way that's relatable to them?
So first off, you kind of have to recognize your personality type. I have finally realized I'm an all or nothing person. So I can't do a little bit of something and then stop. I have to do all or nothing. So when I first decided to start reading, I had to read every single day. 10 pages. It wasn't like massive, but I had to do something every single day. And a lot of entrepreneurs have very similar personalities and they don't really realize it until I say that. And then they're like, oh, if you're going to work out or wake up at 5 a.m. and go on a workout, you can't do it 5 days a week and keep the ball rolling. You have to do it 7 days a week. And that sucks because not a lot of people want to wake up at 5 a.m. on Saturday. But for me, it didn't work if I was only going to do it a few days a week. I had to do it every single day. And then with meditating and that kind of stuff, I started with what is the smallest amount of time thing. And I can do anything for 5 minutes. But if you can't do anything for 5 minutes, because TikTok has ruined our attention span, 1 minute. What can you do anything of for what amount of time? I can do anything for 5 minutes. I can do anything for 1 minute. And I start there. And then you just start working your way up. Because eventually, like, it's really hard to keep the squirrel in a box for a minute. But then it gets easier at a minute. And then you move up to 5. And then it's really hard. and then it gets easier. And now like I can meditate for like an hour at a time if I have the time without tiny people interrupting me. And it's great. I just kind of lose myself in it. But I wasn't able to work up to 30 minutes. It took me like 6 months of doing it every single day to work my way up to that.
Yeah, I feel like whenever I feel anything or do anything, I feel it very passionately, right? I'm gonna do it hard. So I think you and I share that feeling. And what I've had to do is be really methodical about my schedule. And so I wake up at the same exact time every single day. I do the same exact thing. I have the same exact thoughts, and I treat it like I'm a devotee to a guru, right? Where I'm like in the Himalayas and having to wake up and do the same thing and the chores every single day the same way. And it's a version of discipline that supports my spiritual growth, right? I have to do it that way. And it sounds like you're that way. I'm curious, like, what kind of personality assessments and work did you do to find that stuff out about you? I mean, one of the oldest gifts of stoicism and philosophy is to know thyself, right? How do you know yourself? How did you go about that process of finding out how you operate and what serves you best?
Well, I mean, I've taken a lot of personality tests throughout the journey, as we all do, and we get a little bit more enlightenment. But I'll be honest, what taught me that part of myself, the all or nothing, was Duolingo. Have you ever done Duolingo? It's all
Oh,
about
yeah, they've really dialed in their app because it like if you don't do it by the end of the day, the little picture on the phone is like glaring at you and like yeah, it's mad. And I
but
hear the
honestly,
beeping.
yeah, you hear it, but it's not so much that guy. I don't really care about the guy. It's the streak for me. I don't want to break my streak. If I'm on a 7-day streak, I want an 8th day. And it's like soul crushing to break the streak. But the minute I break the streak, it's over. Like I may as well never do it again until I get back on it, right? So I realized that about Duolingo, and I was like, I could apply this everywhere else. So I downloaded an app called Streaks. It was, I think, $5.99 one-time payment on my phone. And you can just assign yourself things that you're going to have streaks in. So one of my streaks was meditating every day. One of my streaks was reading 10 pages of an improvement book every single day. And every day I would have to go and I would have to mark off my streak. And that worked wonders. So, like, I feel like you can get really caught up in the personality tests because they tell you so much about yourself, but don't really tell you action items. And I'm all about action items because I can be as introspective as possible, but if I don't do anything with it, it's really like not going to do anything for me. I want to move. But what are the things that you do every day already, and why do you do them already? And if you want to do something new, let's apply the same principles. For me, it was because Duolingo had a streak, so I applied that to all the things that I wanted to do for myself. But for some people, it could just be like they're triggered. It's like atomic habits, right? You're triggered by doing one thing. You brush your teeth, so you also wash your face. So why don't you add affirmations to the mirror or something like that? Or you could make it to where when you are brushing your teeth and you're washing your face, you're listening to an audiobook that you want to listen to. It's just, how do things work for you in the things that you already are doing, and then build upon that to improve yourself. And that's worked really well for me, and it's helped a lot of people relate to it better, because when I say like, I meditate for 30 minutes a day, unrelatable content to 90% of the people. But when I say like, you cannot get me to break a streak, and the minute I do, I'm totally demotivated, they're like, yes, I have a streak. I'm like, great, go do that. What you will, like, go improve yourself if you want to, and if you don't, like, I'm not going to push you to it because, yeah.
I'm curious, what is your longest streak and what is it that you're tracking?
Oh, my Duolingo streak up until like a few weeks ago when I got a little sick and I just missed a few days was like 745 days.
700. So what's that? Almost
Over 2
coming up on
years,
3 years.
every single day.
Wow.
And
So
meditating, I was
Duolingo.
tracking it
Yeah.
every day. So 365 plus on meditating. And now I don't track it. Once I've got an ingrained habit, once I've done it for about a year straight, I can throttle down a little bit and keep it going. So now I meditate more when I feel like I need to. When we're in school, I do it every day, but summertime is a complete roller coaster. So it's just like, when do I feel overwhelmed? When do I feel like I really need to get clear on something? I will sit down, find the time to meditate. But I'll be honest, last time I did it, my daughter cut her hair. So that sucked. So you just got to make sure there's no scissors in the house while you're meditating for 30 minutes.
Our son cut his hair the other day. That's so funny. Yeah, it's a shared experience, I think, across all people. They want to cut their bangs specifically, or they want to get the front of it off.
Yep,
Bugs them. I am curious about like that. You got sick and you said that you feel demotivated, demoralized, right, when you break your streak. But so if you've been going for a year, do you then restart and pick it back up, or are you good? You don't need to track the streak anymore, or will you get back on the streak and track it again?
It depends on what it is. Like for meditation now, it feels so good that I just want to do it on a daily basis pretty much. So I don't feel the need to track it as much. I'll be honest, I got really mad at it when I broke my streak. I was pissed for a minute. But then my thought process was, did I lose all the knowledge that a 745 streak gave me? No, I didn't. So is it worth it to jump back on to continue learning so that I can not super fluently communicate, but so I can learn this language? So for me, my why on that one is greater than my demotivation, because my kids are in a dual language school, so they're going to speak Spanish. That's it. Like they learn Spanish at school. They speak 85% Spanish until second grade. So I want to be able to speak Spanish so that I can understand them when they're talking bad about me as teenagers, but B, also be able to facilitate that learning at home and not be completely clueless and out of touch with what they're learning. So yeah, like I did not lose 745 days of education just because I missed a few days. Does it suck every time I get on Duolingo and see a 14-day streak instead of an almost 800-day streak? Yes. So I have to remind myself of that daily, but like once you start doing something and you've been doing it long enough, does the benefit outweigh the cost? You've got to judge that for yourself. Like if you do something for a year and the benefits are not outweighing the cost, then let it go. I think the biggest thing people do is assign so much importance to things. And one of the things I've been really working on this summer is emotions are energy in motion. So the emotions you feel are what drive almost everything else. They drive your reactions, they drive how you respond to things. So at the end of the day, if you can be disciplined in working on controlling your emotions, and instead of being way up here or way down here about things, you're more in the middle and you have slighter fluctuations, it's okay. Because like when you rise, you're always going to fall to a very similar event. So if I rise real high, I'm going to fall real low. So it wasn't making me ecstatic to have a 745-day streak on Duolingo. It was making me like happy. When I lost that streak, it didn't take me to the depths of despair. And I'm able to control my emotions around getting back on that. And same thing with anything. Like if you stop working out for a few weeks, it's so easy to just fall off that wagon, and you could beat yourself up and feel shame and feel guilt. And those emotions add to the difficulty of starting things back up. But if you're able to control the emotions around it, and instead of beating yourself up, you say, hey, look, yeah, this sucks, but like everybody has this. David Goggins got fat twice. And look at him. Yeah. Like he got skinny, went off, got fit, became a Navy SEAL, then he became fat again. And then he started running the ultra marathons. So like everyone's always going to fall off the wagon sometimes, but it's about getting back on consistently. And how quick can you go from down to back on the wagon instead of living in that low spot? So that's what I've been working on this summer, is working on my emotions around when I don't do as well as I wish I had, or things aren't going my way, not getting so riled up about it and just saying like, yes, this sucks. I'm allowed to feel bad about it, but I'm going to feel and process those emotions so I can get back on my bandwagon of feeling calm and peaceful and serene about things. It's harder than it sounds.
I'm so guilty. So anger, anxiety, disappointment, those are pretty much the ones. Those are the ones that hit me. Depression hits me sometimes, but I don't know I probably learned it from my parents young, to just like, why? You know what I mean? Like get up and keep going, which is totally, if you tell a depressed person, that's not what they want to hear.
Oh yeah. Just stop.
Yeah, come on. Can't you just get over it? So I found myself, I realized this actually the other day on a podcast with Dr. Elia. There's these videos on YouTube that are just, they're AI read stoic principles. So according to Marcus Aurelius, right? And it's just this voice, same voice across hundreds of these videos on YouTube. And whenever I listen to these, I find myself in that stoic medium, right? I'm not too high, I'm not too low. I take kind of this like the Buddhist farmer, right? Where something good happens according to everybody else, and it's like, maybe. And then something bad happens, and it's like, maybe. So there's no good, there's no bad, right? It's all mixed up. And so I find myself mad when my kids don't listen. It gets me there. Like, and unfortunately, like, then when I get mad at them, I feel really bad about myself, right? And then I have to go back to the middle. What counsel would you give me? You're a fellow parent, and you've been through this exercise now you've had all these reps. And so how would you encourage me to control my that anger, sadness cycle?
I am actively working on it. So like for me, it's frustration, apathy, and shame. So like I'll feel ashamed that I didn't hit something. I get frustrated by the fact that I can't, and then I'm apathetic about it. Like, oh, why bother? Which I think that's the worst one. And I don't get that about my kids, but so I feel you. But with the kids thing, what I've been working on, is we're all learning every day, but I voice my emotions instead of just getting frustrated. I'll yell, but then I'll say like, I'm frustrated right now. I need to take a couple deep breaths. And honestly, it's one of the most annoying things. My 5-year-old will be like, Mommy, you need to take a few deep breaths. I'm like, can you tell yourself that? But
you're like, shut my son has become a little meditator in that regard. He'll be, Dad, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And I'm like, thank you, you little.
I know. Like, could you do that when you're freaking out at me? But no, I mean, like we all get frustrated. And one of the things that I would love for my kids to grow up being able to do is to allow themselves to feel their emotions to a point where they're up and out, right? I never did that. My emotions would roil up and I would shove them down as hard as I could, as quickly as I could, because we didn't want to feel negative emotions, or I would mask them. I would go start reading a book and like just try not to feel those feelings because they didn't feel good. And so trying to let myself feel those emotions up and out. I'm frustrated right now. I need to work through that. And sometimes it's not like talking through it with the kids. It's just like take a deep breath. But then like the other day, I got really frustrated because I was trying to work. I put my kids in kid club most days. I get 2 hours at the YMCA to just do my work on a daily basis. I don't get a lot of time. The other day, my little one shoved somebody and my older one decided to have an absolute fit about the teacher being mean to her. So basically I had to pull them out of kids club 30 minutes into a 2-hour stint. And I was the most frustrated. And then on top of that, they decided to absolutely throw a fit as we were leaving because like I'd bribed them. I was like, you go to kids club and you're good, you get ice cream. And my older one's like, do we get ice cream? I was like, no, you didn't go to kids club. You didn't earn your ice cream. We'll have to find a different way to earn the ice cream. She lost her shit. And I was like, okay, I can't lose my crap in front of a whole YMCA full of old people who like to give me unsolicited advice, right? No. But then we went to the playground and I was still very frustrated with them. And it got to a point where they like went off to play and I just kind of like put on my sunglasses and I let myself cry about it and just feel frustrated and pissed and overwhelmed. And like, I'm never going to make progress in my business and I'm never going to get to where I want to be because I can never get uninterrupted time to just do the things I need to do. And I just kind of like cried about it and just really let my feelings feel. And I didn't take them out on anybody and I didn't talk about it. I just like let them well up and out. And by the time it got about an hour into our playground, I was like, and I got to a point where the emotions weren't so heavy anymore. I could distance, like they're sitting at the table, but they're not running the meeting now. Am I still a little frustrated and disappointed? Yes, but they're not running the show anymore. They are there and I can kind of say, okay, thank you. But like, we're going to move on from that back to the equilibrium.
I like it. Heather, where can everyone find you?
So if you want to find me, there's 2 places. My website, onsetprodev.com, or if you're looking for a little bit more personality, you can go to my TikTok at onsetproheather. I just kind of talk about whatever I'm learning about. And right now I'm learning about crypto. So if you want to learn about crypto, we're explaining it for dummies because I don't understand it. And that's what I'm talking about on TikTok.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem.
This has been the Pulse Ox Podcast. Please, if you found this episode valuable, give us a like on Spotify and share it with a friend.